I am speaking with Reverend Christo Greyling, who is the Senior Director for Faith and External Engagement at World Vision International. So, Christo, thank you for taking the time to speak this morning. You have been part of the faith response to HIV for 30 years. How has the faith response changed during that time?
David, when I came to my church, the Dutch Reformed Church 30 years ago, and I told them, can we start with a ministry on HIV? They said, why would we do that? We've got no one with AIDS in the church. So we start from a stage of total denial, plus at that stage, a very we and us, them and us situation, where it was really a blame game of those people that contracted HIV who has done something wrong. I think since then, the realization that we must break stigma, that we must have the right information, start to address social and behavior change issues. We need to continue to have the focus on how we do this together as a science community, as faith community, and as local communities.
It occurs to me that the initial time that you were talking about was also about the end of apartheid in South Africa. So I was wondering what the relationship was between those two challenges.
At that stage, that it was perceived to be a black disease and not something that affects everyone. So for me, as a white Afrikaans reverend from the Dutch Reformed Church, to come out and say, I live with HIV, was for specifically to help to break that stigma. We have just gone through, globally, through the Black Lives Matters issues. And I think the reality that we faced in South Africa many years ago is still a reality that are there. It's not on the books anymore. It's not on the legal enforcement, but it's some stigma. It sits in the heart of every one of us, whether it's HIV-related stigma, or racial stigma, or LGBTQ stigma. That's our brokenness. And I think, again, that's where, as people of faith, that we have such an important role to play to address all the interrelated issues that also drives the HIV epidemic, so that we can overcome the epidemic as a whole.
10 years ago, there was a religious leaders summit that was held in the Netherlands about the faith response to HIV, and you were there. So what was that like?
It was an amazing meeting. It was a meeting of the first time where high-level religious leaders came together and jointly made the agreement to speak up and break the silence about HIV. It was, for me, as a church leader myself, quite an emotional time to go through. The focus was already, in a way, there on minority groups and marginalized groups. But I think since then there's much more of a greater realization that we cannot address this epidemic if we do not also address the most vulnerable groups. And with that, we know we talk about the minority and groups, but also we talk about children as the group that need to be included in that as well. So I would say great progress has been made. But I'm also afraid that we might have lapsed in our own energy to continue to stand up and drive this, because perhaps treatment has become available and the perception is there that it's not necessary anymore. We do need to reinvigorate our own commitment to this as people of faith.
You have been working on a book about the Channels of Hope program. It's one I have to say I'm looking forward to reading. How is that project going? When will the book be coming out?
The book is actually a life story of my own living with hemophilia, and then with HIV, and then with hepatitis C. And in the midst of that, how do you live with such a death sentence over your head, multiple in a way? And how do you live with hope? Now, World Vision know, and there are 500,000 church leaders who has now become catalysts for change and instruments of hope. I'm just thankful for the way that God was faithful in actually waking up people of faith to actually carry this forward. And we need that for the next phase as well.
Christo, I know that you helped Muslims build a similar Channels of Hope program. How did that work out?
Well, that's daring to go where I have no clue what was going on. I learned many, many lessons in this process, and I'm very thankful for amazing Muslim friends who accompanied us on this journey. It happened basically as a result of church, Muslim leaders, faith leaders, imams, and sheikhs that attended some of our Channels of Hope workshops in Uganda with the Christian leaders. And these guys said to the World Vision folks, when are you going to give this same information to our people, to our Muslim communities, and to our Muslim leaders? Because our people are also dying of AIDS. So that was an amazing journey to let go and let God, in a way, work through the Muslim leaders to actually adapt it themselves and own it. The only areas that are really different are the scriptural understanding part. So the content goes back to the Muslims, surahs, and the Quran to be able to say this is what they call to, and similar to what we do with the Bible.
Let's look ahead to the next decade. For a long time, people have talked about 2030 as a target date for ending the HIV epidemic.
Yeah.
If you think globally, beyond just the faith perspective, how optimistic are you that we will be able to end the HIV epidemic the way we have talked about?
Well, there's the positive side in me. As you can see, I'm a person that cannot help to be positive about things. That comes naturally. I'm positive that it can be done. I'm positive that we have the tools, the programs, the resources, the manpower, everything we've got to do that, we have. Whether we have the commitment globally to do that is a different story. I think we need a whole new strategy on invigorating passion and energy and commitment.
Thank you, Christo. I know that many of us are hoping to find that same reinvigoration that you're looking for at the conference that will be on September 22nd, 24th. See you there.